Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Shockey from Shockey's Environmental Consulting. Today I am here to present the management plan for the St. Gabriel Land Company property in Iberville Parish, Louisiana. So let's jump into it. Alright, before we get to the presentation, we're just going to do a quick overview. First, we're going to do an introduction, talk about the property a little bit, and talk about some of your goals. Then we're going to look at potential easement options, their positives and negatives. Then we will talk about our forest management recommendations, followed by some specific feature management recommendations. Then we'll talk about the field management recommendations, um, followed up by pond and stream management recommendations, and finally we'll make a conclusion. Um, without further ado, let's get into the presentation. So a quick little history of the property. It's in the Mississippi Alluvial Valley, and it used to be bottomland hardwood forest, but over a century ago it was taken up by farmers and turned into agricultural fields. There is still an existing forest on there, but that forest has been high graded and the species composition is kind of out of whack. Um, then management goals we've understand from conversations we've had with you. You want this property to be at least revenue neutral. You want to manage this property as wild land, and you'd like to be able to hunt and fish on this property. In order to decide what easement programs this property applies for, we first had to do a wetland delineation. We used the Louisiana Rapid Assessment method to do this delineation. That's the method used by the Army Corps of Engineers in the New Orleans district, which is the district that we are in. We found that a majority of the property is a wetland, which makes it qualify for these ones. We also wanted you to be able to hunt and fish on your property, so we also included that in our recommendations. Our three recommendations for easement programs are wetland mitigation banking, wetland reserve easements, and conservation reserve programs. Wetland mitigation banking is going to be the most profitable, but there's a long time frame with that, and the cost of restorations are all out of your own pocket. The wetland reserve easement is a good one if you want to just remain cost neutral. You'll get a lot of help with the management actions, so it's not all on you. You will have to wait, though. You have to own the property for 24 months before you can enroll, and there's no guarantees that when you try and enroll that you get it. There's limited funding in this program. And then the Conservation Reserve Program, will pay you yearly and share your cost, but your property hasn't been farmed recently, so it doesn't technically meet the requirements, but there is a chance that some exceptions might be made, so it's something that we can look into. In the management plan, we go into a lot more details on each of these programs, so we recommend reading it before making any decisions. For forest management, we are following recommendations based on the Lower Mississippi Valley Joint Venture Forest Restoration Conservation Working Group. This group developed a desired stand conditions for wildlife habitat. The main goals we're going to have are increasing the structural diversity in the forest and shifting the species composition from elm ash sugarberry to mixed oaks and hickory stands. The reasoning behind this is we found that deer and other game species like turkeys don't have enough food in the understory, so they will benefit from opening up the canopy and having more structural diversity. And increasing structural diversity will also lead to more biodiversity, different insect species, different birds, different bats, all sorts of different things. And that's a picture of a deer from your property. So they're out there. For managing the forest, we decided to break it up into 3 different units, A, B, and C, as you can see on the map here. We don't recommend not doing any management. We highly recommend doing some thinnings. We used a forage vegetation simulator from the U.S. Forest Service to determine what would happen if you did nothing, and we found that the trees would just outcompete each other and grow so dense that there'd be no understory and it'd be terrible wildlife habitat. So we don't recommend doing that. We also want to point out that the soils on this property make using heavy machinery very difficult. So we're about to go through and give you some possible prices for the thinnings that we're going to do, but understand that getting the logs out might be difficult. We also created marking guidelines, which we're about to go through, to cut trees out. Our target basal area is 60 feet squared per acre, and that comes directly from the the desired forest conditions recommended by the Mississippi Alluvial Valley Joint Venture Group. We're just going to run through these real quick, but as you can see, the chart on the left of the screen shows the target stand structure and the current stand structure. The marking guidelines is how we're going to get the current stand structure down to the target stand structure. As you can see for Unit A, we got to remove a decent amount of trees, but we're going to be you could sell the timber for $100,000 to $150,000. Unit B is a little bit smaller and a little bit less dense than Unit A, so you're only going to get $40,000 to $60,000 from this unit. Unit C is the smallest of the three, and only has a harvest value of about $25,000 to $40,000 after thinning. As you can see, there are a lot of features on this property which create a lot of unique management opportunities. So let's start looking at some of those. One interesting opportunity is creating green tree reservoirs using the standing water in Unit A, the berms in Unit B, and the berm/borrow pit in Unit C. Some of the benefits to green tree reservoirs: they are shallowly flooded in the winter, and this provides wintering habitat for migratory waterfowl. It's great duck hunting, whether you want to do it or you want to sell hunting leases. And then you also get additional wildlife benefits for turtles, frogs, and even that alligator on the property. Some of the drawbacks is they do require proper management to be successful. You have to control the water levels and make sure that they're not flooded too long. A solution to this, though, is we could put multiple ones across the property and flood one, and do a rotation flooding. So we'd flood two 1 year and then rotate and do the next two, and go from there. This has been found to be a more sustainable method of running a green tree reservoir. To cover some other options for managing features on the property, we could potentially build a third pond that would be for catfish only. The other two ponds already have an existing population of bass, and incorporating catfish into a pond with bass populations already in it can sometimes be difficult. The drainage ditches, the management for them is going to vary based on what management actions we choose to do and the direction we decide to go. Along with the shooting range, we believe the shooting range is such a small area, there's no need to take it down unless we go the wetland reserve easement path, in which case you will be required to take it down. While we were doing the HSIs for various species, we found that the fields did not provide much value to the habitat. We recommend removing the existing vegetation, whether it's through a prescribed burn or herbicides, and then follow that up by doing one of two things. Either one, plant native grasslands and food plots. This will create good nesting habitat for turkeys and be a valuable food source for deer and turkeys, and great for hunting. Or two, reforest them by following the Mississippi Alluvial Joint Venture guidelines. This would involve planting a mixture of hard and soft mass producing trees. We recommend doing both of them. That way you get a short-term gain from the grasslands and then a long-term gain from the increased forest on the property. All right, so determine some management actions that can be done for the ponds and streams. We use the hybrid tiered aquatic life use IBI. IBIs are similar to HSIs, but IBIs are generally used for aquatic areas because sampling is easier. Um, this model ranks habitat quality 1 through 6, 1 being the best, 6 being the worst. We found that the forest pond was ranked 4, and that's okay. We don't think there needs to be too much management, but there was a low bass to brim ratio, so we think we should stock the pond with a few bass. It's a small pond, it shouldn't need too many. The gun range pond was a rank 6. It was ranked 6 because it didn't have enough woody material in it, and it also didn't have enough forest cover, so we recommend planting trees around the area and maybe throwing some woody material in there. It also had the low bass to brim ratio, so we also recommend stocking bass for that. The canal had the same issues as the pond, but we don't recommend stocking it. In conclusion, this property has been through a lot in the past century, and that has led it to be not in the healthiest state. We believe that the management recommendations presented in this plan will both improve the quality and function of the habitat, while also achieving your goals as a landowner. We thank you for this opportunity to work on such a unique project. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for choosing Shockey's Environmental Consulting.